Are you a fan of unsolved mysteries? Well then, you know there are a couple of ways for a criminal to escape the scene, right? But this man, D.B. Cooper, is just unforgettable for jumping out of a plane using a parachute. Sit tight as we uncover one of the most interesting unsolved mysteries in history. Hi, welcome to our channel. Unsolved mysteries definitely catch our interest, so for this video, we'll be introducing you to one of the most iconic names in America that up to this day has an identity that remains unidentified. This individual, known as Dan Cooper, gained notoriety for hijacking a commercial airplane that was en route from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. Interestingly, he then proceeded to parachute out of the aircraft, taking the ransom money along with him. Before we get started, have you heard of the name D.B. Cooper before? What have you heard about him? Tell us in the comments below. As we start, let's try to get to know who D.B. Cooper is first. As we briefly mentioned a while ago, his identity remains unknown to this day, so some details about his appearance and behavior as mentioned by eyewitnesses were the only facts reported about him. According to the extensive documentation by the FBI, D.B. Cooper is described as a Caucasian male, approximately 6 feet 1 inch tall, weighing around 170 to 175 pounds. He was believed to be in his mid-40s, with an olive complexion, brown eyes, and black hair styled in a conventional manner with a left parting. Cooper boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 and took his seat in the aisle at the rear of the 727 aircraft. He then proceeded to light a cigarette and ordered a bourbon and soda. Subsequently, he handed a note to Florence Schaffner, a 23-year-old flight attendant, which stated, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I want you to sit next to me." During that period, it was common for solo male passengers to discreetly provide phone numbers or hotel room details to flight attendants. Consequently, Florence Schaffner received the note from Cooper and stored it in her pocket without paying much attention to it. However, when Cooper gestured for her to approach him again, she realized the seriousness of the situation. He urged her to read the note, emphasizing that he had a bomb, indicating his suitcase. Schaffner retreated to the galley to examine the note and subsequently showed it to her fellow flight attendant. Together, they hurried to the cockpit to inform the pilot. The pilot wasted no time in contacting air traffic control, who promptly alerted the Seattle police, leading to the involvement of the FBI. The FBI urgently reached out to Donald Nyrop, the president of the airline, who advised compliance with Cooper's demands. It is evident that Nyrop was keen to avoid any negative publicity that might arise from such a calamitous event. Cooper was cautious about leaving behind any evidence that could incriminate him, so he instructed the flight attendant to return the note to him. As a result, the precise wording of the note remains unknown. However, Florence Schaffner remembered that the handwritten note, written in ink, demanded a sum of $200,000 in cash and 2 sets of parachutes. Cooper specified that he wanted these items delivered upon arrival at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. He made it clear that failure to comply with his demands would result in the detonation of a bomb on the plane. All those who read the note agreed that it included the phrase, "No funny business." Cooper strategically changed his seating arrangement, relocating to the window seat and prompting Florence Schaffner to occupy his previous aisle seat upon her return. He deliberately exposed the contents of his suitcase, providing her with a glimpse of wires and 2 cylindrical objects, suspected to be dynamite sticks. Cooper then instructed Schaffner to go back to the cockpit and inform the pilot that they should remain airborne until the requested money and parachutes were prepared. Following the transmission of this message, the pilot made an announcement over the intercom, stating that the aircraft would need to circle before landing due to a mechanical issue. The majority of the passengers remained unaware of the fact that a hijacking had taken place. Things are just about to get intense. What are your guesses to what happened next? Comment below. Cooper exhibited meticulousness in his specifications regarding the money he demanded. He specifically requested $200,000 in $20 bills, as this amount would weigh approximately 21 pounds. Cooper was concerned about the weight of the money for his planned skydive, and using smaller bills would add unnecessary additional weight that could pose a danger. On the other hand, larger bills would weigh less, but might prove more challenging to pass discreetly. Notably, he even specified that he wanted bills with random serial numbers, rather than sequential ones. The FBI complied with his request by providing bills with random serial numbers, while ensuring that all of them began with the code letter L. Procuring the parachutes proved to be a more arduous task compared to obtaining the money. McCord Air Force Base in Tacoma offered to supply the parachutes, but Cooper rejected this offer. He insisted on civilian parachutes equipped with user-operated ripcords, as opposed to military-issued ones. Eventually, the Seattle police managed to get in touch with the owner of a skydiving school. Although the school was closed at the time, they persuaded him to sell them 4 parachutes. Cooper's hijacking note did not explicitly detail his plan to skydive from the airplane, but his demands led officials to make that assumption. Given that he requested an additional parachute, they speculated that he intended to take a passenger or crew member as an airborne hostage. The idea of using dummy parachutes for the exchange with Cooper was considered, but the potential risk to civilian lives was too great to proceed with that option. At 5:24 p.m., the ground team confirmed that they had both the cash and the parachutes ready, and they relayed this message to Captain Scott via radio. Cooper instructed the crew to taxi the plane to a remote, well-lit location upon landing. To maintain a low profile, he had the cabin lights dimmed and strictly prohibited any vehicles from approaching the aircraft. Furthermore, he specifically instructed that the individual delivering the cash and parachutes should come alone, without any companions. A Northwest Airline employee drove a company vehicle near the plane as instructed by Cooper. Cooper then ordered flight attendant Tina Mucklow to lower the stairs. The employee carried 2 parachutes at a time and handed them over to Mucklow at the stairs. Subsequently, the employee brought the cash, contained in a large bank bag, to the location. Once Cooper's demands were fulfilled, he released the 36 passengers and flight attendant Florence Schaffner. However, he retained flight attendant Tina Mucklow and the 3 men in the cockpit as hostages. During this time, an official from the Federal Aviation Administration contacted the captain and sought permission to board the aircraft. The official likely intended to caution Cooper about the risks and consequences of air piracy. However, Cooper denied the official's request. Cooper then had Mucklow review the instruction card for operating the aft stairs. When he questioned her about it, she expressed doubt that the stairs could be lowered during flight. Cooper confidently stated that she was mistaken. Cooper specifically selected this particular flight, not only based on its route, but also due to the type of aircraft being used, the Boeing 727-100. He possessed considerable knowledge about this aircraft model. Cooper commanded the pilot to maintain an altitude below 10,000 feet and to keep the airspeed below 150 knots. These parameters were chosen because an experienced skydiver could easily jump from the aircraft at that speed. The Boeing 727-100, being a lightweight jet, could fly at such a slow speed without any difficulty, even through the dense air at 10,000 feet. Cooper expressed his desire to go to Mexico City to the crew. However, the pilot explained that given the altitude and airspeed constraints he had set, the jet would not be able to cover more than 1,000 miles, even with its fuel capacity of 52,000 gallons. Taking this into consideration, they agreed to make a mid-stop in Reno, Nevada, to refuel. Captain Scott and Cooper engaged in negotiations regarding the flight route, ultimately agreeing on a low-altitude path known as Vector 23. This route ensured the jet's safe passage to the west of the mountains, even at the reduced altitude specified by Cooper. Cooper also instructed the captain to depressurize the cabin. He was aware that at an altitude of 10,000 feet, a person could breathe normally without the need for pressurization. Cooper understood that if the pressure inside and outside the cabin were equalized, there would not be a sudden rush of wind when the aft stairs were lowered. Once all the flight details were settled, the plane took off at 7:46 p.m. Following takeoff, Cooper commanded the flight attendant and the rest of the crew to remain in the cockpit. Unfortunately, at that time, there were no peepholes or remote cameras installed in the cockpit door, so the crew had no visibility or knowledge of what Cooper was doing in the cabin. Around 8 p.m., a red warning light indicated that a door was open. Captain Scott used the intercom to inquire if there was anything they could assist Cooper with. In response, he angrily replied with a simple, "No." These were the last words ever heard from Dan Cooper. Cooper vanished without a trace, and subsequent investigations failed to confirm his survival. Attempts to follow the hijacked plane proved futile, as Cooper had already jumped before authorities could catch up. Poor weather delayed the ground search until the next day, but it yielded no sign of the hijacker or his parachute. Although a police record for an Oregon man named D.B. Cooper initially raised suspicion, he was quickly cleared. However, a journalist's mix-up led to the adoption of D.B. Cooper as the hijacker's alias, which stuck throughout the investigation. In 1980, bundles of $20 bills matching the Cooper ransom were found in the Columbia River, leading some to believe that Cooper didn't survive. Searches were conducted in the area, but the eruption of Mount St. Helens potentially erased any remaining evidence. Over time, various individuals claimed to be Dan Cooper, but the FBI's fingerprint analysis hasn't produced any significant breakthroughs. D.B. Cooper's unsolved mystery captivated America, transforming him into a folk hero and serving as inspiration for countless songs, books, and movies. There are a lot of interesting unsolved mysteries in history, and we hope you loved learning about this one with us. If you did, don't forget to give this video a like, hit the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching.